The moon hung high in the sky, its silver light falling gently on the little village of Naderi. At the far end of the village, where tall grasses whispered in the night wind, stood a tiny hut. It was old and weak, as if one strong storm could carry it away. Inside that hut lived a little girl named Amara. Amara had no mother to sing her to sleep and no father to protect her. Both had left the world when she was too small to even remember their faces. All she carried from them was her name, her hut, and a heart that refused to give up. Many nights she lay on her mat, listening to the laughter of other children outside. Sometimes her stomach growled from hunger, but instead of crying, she whispered to herself, "Tomorrow will be better. I will work, I will try, and I will not give up." Each morning before the sun rose, Amara fetched water from the river in a clay pot almost too heavy for her small arms. She would sweep her compound with a broom made of palm sticks and then go from house to house asking, "Do you need help on your farm today?" Most times, people looked at her with pity. Some would give her little work, others would chase her away. But Amara never stopped trying. When she found work, she did it with all her strength. She carried firewood, planted seeds, and harvested crops, even though she often went home with only a handful of food. The villagers whispered about her. "She is too young to work like this. She should be playing with other children. Look at her clothes, torn and dirty." But Amara didn't listen. Deep inside, she carried a secret dream. One day, she would become someone great. Not because she wanted to be rich, but because she wanted to prove that even an orphan could shine like the stars. One hot afternoon, Amara was carrying a heavy basket of cassava from a farm. On the path, she saw an old woman sitting under a mango tree, struggling with a bundle of firewood. The woman's hands trembled and sweat rolled down her wrinkled face. Without thinking twice, Amara dropped her own basket, ran to the woman, and said softly, "Let me help you." The woman looked at her with surprise. "Child, this wood is too heavy for you." Amara smiled. "I am used to heavy things. Please, let me carry it." With all her strength, she lifted the bundle and walked slowly beside the woman until they reached her hut. When they arrived, the woman's eyes shone with tears. "Why did you help me, my dear? You don't even know me." Amara answered with a quiet voice, "Because I know how it feels to carry heavy things alone." The woman touched Amara's head and gave her a small bag of food, yams, beans, and groundnuts. That night, Amara ate a meal richer than she had eaten in many months. She felt warmth in her heart, not just from the food, but from the joy of helping someone in need. Little did she know, that one act of kindness was the beginning of a journey that would change her life forever. The morning sun rose gently over the village of Nderi, painting the sky with colors of gold and orange. Amara was already awake, her feet dusty from walking along the farm paths. She had spent the early hours helping a woman fetch water, and now she was carrying firewood back to her little hut. Her hands were rough, her back ached, yet her eyes still held a quiet fire. Every day she told herself, "I will not stop. I will keep working. One day, the world will see me." As days passed, people began to notice her more. Farmers spoke about the little orphan girl who never complained, no matter how hard the work was. Traders in the market whispered about her honesty, for she never took a grain more than she was given. Mothers admired her kindness, for she always offered to help with their children, even when she was tired herself. One afternoon, while Amara was helping a trader count baskets of maize, a royal messenger suddenly appeared in the market. His voice was loud and full of authority as he announced, "The chief of Nderi village has heard of a young girl named Amara. He wishes to see her at the palace." The market fell silent. All eyes turned to the little girl in her torn dress, her hair tied back with a faded cloth. Amara's heart raced. She had never been inside the palace before. Some villagers whispered, "Why would the chief call her? She is only an orphan." Others said, "Maybe her hard work has finally been seen." That evening, Amara walked nervously toward the palace. The great compound stood tall, with carved wooden gates and guards holding long spears. Her bare feet felt small against the wide ground. When she entered the chief's hall, her eyes widened. The floor was smooth, the walls decorated with bright cloth, and the chief sat on a large chair carved from the trunk of a mighty tree. His eyes were sharp but kind, and beside him sat elders and advisors. "Come closer, child," the chief said. Amara bowed low, her voice trembling as she answered, "Yes, my lord." The chief studied her for a moment. Then he spoke. "I have heard of you, Amara. They say you work harder than most, that you are honest with every task, and that you help others without asking for a reward. Is this true?" Amara swallowed hard and replied, "I only do what my heart tells me to do, my lord." The hall grew quiet. The chief leaned forward. "The market has been suffering. Traders cheat and accounts are not balanced. I need someone trustworthy, someone who will not lie, to help keep the record straight. I wish to give you this task." Amara gasped. Her small chest rose and fell as she whispered, "Me? But I am only a poor girl. I cannot read big numbers, and I have no fine clothes to sit in the palace." The chief smiled gently. "It is not clothes that make a person fit for honor, but character. You may learn numbers, but no one can teach honesty the way it lives in you." Tears gathered in Amara's eyes. She bent her head and said, "I will do my best, my lord." From that day, her life began to change. Each morning, she walked to the palace to help record the goods from the market. At first, many laughed at her. Some traders tried to trick her with false counts, thinking she was too simple to notice. But Amara was sharp. She counted each basket carefully, checked every coin, and kept neat records. Slowly, people began to respect her. Her name spread even farther across Nderi. No longer was she just the poor orphan girl. She was now Amara, the girl of truth. But as her fame grew, so did envy. Not everyone was happy to see her rise. In the shadows of the market, some began to whisper against her. And soon, Amara would face her first true test, one that could either break her or make her shine brighter than ever before. The market of Niter grew busier each day. Traders brought yams, maize, palm oil, and cloth from faraway towns. Buyers filled the stalls with noise and laughter, and in the center of it all, sitting with a wooden board and a small calabash for coins, was Amara. Her fingers moved quickly as she counted, her eyes sharp as she recorded what came in and what went out. Even though she was still young, the people began to trust her more than they trusted some grown men. Mother said, "If Amara holds your money, it is safe." Farmers said, "If Amara counts your harvest, every grain will be correct." But not everyone was pleased. Among the traders was a man named Okoro. He was tall, with greedy eyes that always searched for ways to take more than he deserved. For years, he had cheated others, adding false numbers to his sales and keeping extra coins in his pocket. With Amara in charge, his tricks were being exposed. His profit was shrinking, and his pride was wounded. One evening, Okoro gathered 2 other jealous traders and whispered, This little girl thinks she can outshine us. We will show the chief that she is nothing but a liar." The next day, the market was buzzing with unusual excitement. Ogoro walked to Amara's table carrying a basket of beans. But hidden beneath the beans were heavy stones to make the basket seem fuller. He smiled slyly and said, "Count my basket, Amara. Let's see if your eyes are as sharp as they say." Amara bent over the basket. She touched the top layer of beans, then pressed her hand deeper. Her fingers brushed something hard. She dug further and pulled out a stone. Gasps filled the air. "This is not beans," Amara said calmly, lifting the stone for all to see. "This is a trick." The crowd erupted. Some shouted at Ogoro, while others looked to see how the chief's guards would react. But Ogoro was not finished. He shouted loudly, trying to cover his shame. "This girl is lying. She put the stone there herself. She wants to disgrace me so she can look important." The market grew silent. People turned to Amara, waiting for her reply. Her heart pounded, but she stood tall and steady. She said, "I have no reason to lie. I may be poor, but I carry no trick in my hands. I only carry truth." The chief, who had been watching from his seat nearby, raised his hand for silence. His voice rang out firmly. "Amara speaks the truth. We have seen her honesty many times. Ogoro, your lies are finished. From today, you will no longer trade in this market until you learn the value of truth." The crowd cheered, and many rushed to Amara's side. They lifted her small hands and praised her courage. For the first time, Amara felt the warmth of honor wrap around her heart like a cloak. She had faced her first test and had not fallen. That night, as she walked back to her little hut, the stars seemed brighter. She whispered to herself, "The world may test me, but I will never stop being true." But deep in her heart, Amara knew this was only the beginning. Greater trials were waiting, and each one would demand more strength than the last.